Welcome back to quarter 3, week 5, day 4. Hair, 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 grow it, show it, long and luscious my hair. I'm going to get sued now. That is from the musical Hair, which is from the 60s. So that's for you. You're welcome. A little bit of history for you. Today we're going to work on hair. Not rabbit hair, as I spelled it here, but regular hair, your hair, my hair, everybody's hair. My hair's easy. Your hair may not be as easy as mine, but I'll go over some tips and tricks on how you can make your hair work in 3D Studio Max. I tried to show some different examples. If your hair is long or short or whatever. And then next week we're going to get into turbo smoothing, which is a very dangerous and interesting thing that makes stuff look very smooth and much better. But today we're going to make hair. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to show you sort of what I built already. This is a pseudo mullet looking thing with a like a fluffy part for bangs that I put together. And basically I'm going to sort of go through and show you how I put that together. I'm going to hide that for now. Hide selection. This is the sort of mullety thing that I put together as well. And I'll show you how to build something along these lines. Now once again, I'm just giving you general ideas. Your hair will be different and you will need to build it so that it matches your outfit or your image. My hair actually looks much more like this, and to build that was pretty simple. So let's go ahead and go all the way back to the start here. I'm going to close this without saving it, and we are going to start from here. Alright, great. So today we are going to be building out hair. Once again, depending how long it is or what shape it is, you are going to have to do a lot of this on your own, and that's okay. Depending on if you've got a ponytail or if you've got long hair or whatever you've got, a lot of this is going to be sort of done on your own, but I'm going to show you the basics. So we're going to start by looking at the general shape. Now you can see my hairline itself. The way I built my hair is I would sort of look at where my hairline is, which would be something along those lines. I'd modify it a little bit, so I'd try and figure out, okay, so I want this to follow that, maybe go like that a little bit. This could probably move back, that could move back, and this could move forward-ish. So I would get something along those lines. Grab all of that like I had before, and then at this point what I do is make sure I'm not going to extrude out the back part of my ear, and I'm actually going to extrude out from this angle. I'm going to adjust some of this first. This and this should probably come in like that. Cool. Now I can go back to this. Get those. Okay, cool. So what I want is the basic hairline, and then for my hair, which I said before is pretty easy, I would just actually extrude. Okay, and from the front I would actually look at it from the front for extrude like that. I'd just go out, and I'm going to go out by local normal because that'll put it out roughly the right direction. Select OK. Now it's going to come out way further one direction than the other, so I need to sort of modify that, and I want to make sure that it's going to make sense. Remember, I'm looking for these edges to sort of go out in the right direction. It's going to mess up my center line, and that's okay because I rather have my center line way off like that because then I can adjust it. I can grab that entire section of center line from the front. Make sure it all aligns to itself perfectly. So I hit R and just run it over until it's all lined up, and then I'm going to zero it out. Now I'm not done here. As a matter of fact, I'm going to hit M for material, grab my visible material so I can see better, and I need to, once I add all this stuff, I need to get rid of this edge here. Okay, now you'll notice if I shift select, it selects all that, and I don't want to get rid of all of it. So I'm going to alt select all of this. So I should just have this line here. I'm going to delete that because that's going to be on the inside of the geometry. Now from the left, now I can actually look around and see how that looks. A couple things that I think are important are over here, especially. You don't want this to be super blocky. And this is one of those cases where smoothing it out is really, really, really helpful. You can just go into geometry and relax, and that's going to basically bring those edges in, and that's what you want because it'll give you a much more gradual transition from your hair line into the top, and that will be useful for everybody because everybody's hair doesn't come out like a shelf, so we're probably going to want to do that no matter what your hair looks like. You're probably going to want to do that around your scalp area. The only place I would suggest you maybe don't do it is this center line, but it's not even that big of a deal because all it means is you're just going to have to like recenter it. So I'm going to relax it. Actually, it doesn't relax so well there, but I'm going to get that like that. And now another area, maybe pull that here from the left view. To make this bigger, I'm just going to actually move them up together. I'm going to try and move them along this plane so that I don't screw anything up. Move these out some. You could definitely do some soft selection here if you wanted to. Just be careful if it pulls your line off center. Bring that up. This edge in particular needs to come up, and this needs to come forward. Now, you could, I'm not going to try and get perfectly aligned. If I really wanted to, it would probably make sense for me to do something like move this forward and then extrude out a bit from here. Let's see, front, zoom in. Watch out for these edges. Really, you want to make sure that it's just sort of making sense and it's all sort of coming out the right direction. When you extrude this out, we're going to do edges. Now, once this is set and your center line set, like that's basically all I would do for my hair. If I really wanted to and I wanted to push this part forward, I could extrude out from this area. Not there, but from there, I could do something like this. Grab that, shrink it, and then from the left view, I could move it forward and then adjust more actual vertices. Like that. And then start sort of smoothing the difference out. From the top view, hopefully I only have what I want. That would come out. This would come in from the front. Move that up. Notice where I'm grabbing this on. That way I keep that center line pretty straight. And then I just go in and clear that out back to 0. I still have quads, which is nice. I can still select this and delete it, and that should fix most of my problems. Front zoom. Alright, cool. Once again, everybody's hair will be slightly different, probably. So your hair will be different than mine, and that's obviously just fine. The big thing is to make sure that you're happy with the way it looks. Not all of your hair is going to be as easy as this, and that's fine. The next thing I would do for this section is I would look at smoothing groups. So I would expand the smoothing groups out so that I've got a different smoothing group for the front and the side. So I want to grow that. Be careful not to get the, whoops. Be careful not to get the edge. Actually, that probably makes the most sense. I'll grab that first and then grab the rest. Oops. There. that. I think that's all of it. Good, good. Oh, a couple extra. Okay, cool. Oh, missed one. All right, great. So I'd have that. Now, the smoothing group right now, I think the rest of the skull is 5. So if I make it the same, you're not going to see any edges, and that's okay if you're doing a normal map, but for now we're going to pretend like we're not doing a normal map, so I'm going to hit 5 and then hit 6. So now when I render this, it should look like it's its own smoothing group, which is kind of good. Now, the next thing would be to make sure that this section here has its own area, okay? So I've got this section ready, so I'm going to give it its own group, its own smoothing group. So now when I render it, it'll have its own sort of edge through here, and it won't be, you know, part of it. Okay, so that would be the generic idea. Now, if you had like a ponytail or something like that, or if you had bangs or something like I did earlier, you're going to want to make something that looks a little more, I don't know, sort of more like a cylinder or a possibly a pyramid. Okay, so from the front, actually I'm going to go from the top, create a pyramid, and then from the front, there's my pyramid. I'll move this up, and now I'm going to take this pyramid section. I'm going to add a little more geometry. Not a ton, maybe there. Okay, cool. So if I know that I'm going to have like bangs to sort of come over in front of my face or something like that, this is the sort of thing I'm going to create. From here, I'm going to convert it to editable poly. Take this and then sort of decide, okay, I want this to look through there. Expand that out so it's like that. Then I'll grab the whole thing and make it all one smoothing group, because we're going to make it, we'll make it 2. It doesn't really matter because it'll be its own object, but now it's all going to be its own smoothing group. However, I will make this bottom section a different one. There. That way it's sort of smooth. Now from the front, or now I can take it from this direction. Look at it. Grab this. Pull that in. And then move it out. There. Take the whole thing. Grab that. W, move it this way. This way. Like that. Grab those. Relax them. That. Relax. There. Once again, you're going to have to basically decide how your hair looks and then build it like that. Obviously, that's way too big. I want to shrink the whole thing. So let's say you've got some sort of part that you're trying to work with. You could do separate pieces that look something like that. And you could adjust them and move them around. And if what's important is when you move it around, sometimes your pivot point will get screwed up. Don't forget you can come up here to your hierarchy tab, affect pivot, and align to center the object, and then you can actually adjust the pivots more like that. If you've got a part in particular, something like this, and you want it to, you know, look like that, I'd put it in position. Making it a separate object is really helpful because then you can keep working with it and say, okay, well, this looks kind of good, but it also looks kind of weird. I want to rotate those around a little bit, and I'll move it down, something like that. Maybe move that in. Also, soft selection can be really, really, really helpful on something like this. Hitting F3 so I can actually see the geometry that I can't reach can be good. Making sure like that. Notice I'm working with half of it. That got messed up. Looks like some sort of bean or something that's falling on my head. It's weird. Grab those, pull those back like this, pull back like that. Feel free to make it separate. The big thing here is to make it separate objects and then work with it as you need to. So if I've got like some sort of section that I want that's going to kind of look like that, that's fine. You can make it out of an oval or whatever you want. The back portion of your hair, if you've got longer hair or if you've got maybe some sort of I don't know, something on the back that's longer, you really could do that out of anything. You can make a box. Like that. Give it a couple of segments. Maybe another one like that. And if it's similar on both sides, I would really do my best to try and make it so that it works with, so from the converted to an editable poly. Try and stick with simple shapes first. So I'm just going to grab those edges, go to the top view, turn on soft selection. Grab those verts and move them down like that. And you can adjust the fall off and the pinch. So I can turn on edge distance. So I'm getting just edge distance is going to be really helpful on this sort of thing because I can grab these two, rotate it like that, and it's not going to get any further than that. And you're going to constantly be sort of adjusting how much this is going to apply. Grabbing those. And then moving it like that. Watch your pinch. Make it a little more round. Something like that. From the left. Grab that. Just fall off. Grab just one line like this. We're going to end up needing to rebuild a lot of this anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about how it looks initially. Take that and extrude it out. Maybe local normal. Don't forget about your things like sideburns, stuff like that. Once again, find your soft selection, turn down some, so you're just getting a little bit of motion. And another good tool is you're relaxing your geometry, especially once you get to your edges. And don't worry about like how much detail you put into it initially. You're just trying to get rough shapes out. Turn those in. Of course, follow your concept art. That will help you a ton, since I don't really have any. At the end of the day, when you've got this to where you like it, once you've got it to roughly what you want it to look like, relax a little bit. See if I can make this look a little less terrible. Don't be afraid to keep certain pieces as separate objects. Like if you've got bangs or something that you want to sort of flow around, stuff like that, that's absolutely fine. You can work through there. If you've got longer hair and you want it to sit on your shoulders, once again, if it's at all symmetrical, I'd try and stick with making sure that it is symmetrical, or at least as symmetrical as you can get it, and then doing separate pieces to modify stuff that's not. Once again, I think soft selection is a great way to sort of go about that. Once you've got it to where, and you can isolate something, isolate selection, so you can sort of see how it's looking. I'm going to turn back facing down, so I've got a lot less. And isolate. Turn that down, my soft selection. Actually, just turn it off for there and relax all of those. Actually, maybe just those two on the outside. There. If you've got short hair or hair that is like, I don't know, styled differently, maybe you've got cornrows or something like that, you're going to use the individual geometry itself off the skull to work with. So you're going to extrude out from the individual sections. 3. For this section here, I think I'm going to yeah, I think I'm going to extrude out just by a little bit. Maybe by group. Yeah, like that. Then I'm going to relax that out, because we don't need a ton of, like, I don't need to be drastic, but we do need some form section that kind of looks like that. Once you have the rough general idea, you could always delete the skull underneath if you want to save verts. You can add more edges through here to sort of give it a better look. But at the end of the day, what I'm going to do is grab the whole thing and then make it all one smoothing group. And that way, when it's done, it should look okay. For the ear, I'm going to want to, you can sort of tuck it back like that. Grab that. Rotate these this together. Trying to make that sort of look like it. Maybe the hair's tucked behind the ear a little bit. My old sideburns are poking through, but you get the idea. Once I got the general shape, I would definitely put more edges through there. So I'd grab that, insert a loop, and then maybe give it some more shape. And then once that's done, you go through and clean up your inside. So I'd grab all of that, and then get rid of all of this. Delete it, hit front, zoom in, right click, convert to vertex. I know you can't really see that, but if you right click here, you move up and go convert to vertex. So I should have, I did not have them. I wanted to get just the inner vertices of that line. Now I look at it from the front and then squeeze them together from the front and then hit W and move them to the center line. I'm going to hide this for now. There. It's not terrible. Oops. It should move back that way. There. And don't worry about if it's perfect or not, because especially if your hair isn't symmetrical, which most people's hair isn't, you'll be able to come back through and do this later. Once you mirror it across to one side, you can then extrude out from that. So let's go ahead and deselect this. What I would do is I'd attach the whole thing like that. So now we can, from here, we can add a symmetry modifier. I'm going to have to delete that because it's doing that because my editable poly position, or either I had something selected, no, or what's really happening is my effect pivot needs to be centered, so I need to make sure it's at 0, 0. Turn that off, and now I should be able to add the symmetry modifier. And hit flip, and there we go. Now, you can still manipulate this. So if your hair is longer or whatever, you can still manipulate it. Go to Editable Poly, and click this button, Show End Result. Then click the vertex, and now you can add and manipulate individual vertices. So F3, I'm going to grab that section, F3 again so I can see it, and you can sort of see how that's going to work. F3, I think that's that, F3 again, and then modify that like this. So it's still sort of sitting on there. Same thing, this is really helpful for the modification itself when it comes to like how everything's going to be put together. If you've got hair that comes out like that, so you got the general gist of it, and then if you wanted to extrude out from this to go a specific direction, you could. Alright, so I think that does it for the hair video. Hopefully that gives you a good idea of where to start. If you have any questions, make sure you drop some information or drop a question in the comments section, and I will get to it as soon as I can. And I'm always watching and it pops up on my phone. So I usually get back to you pretty quick. So I hope that's it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.